I'm J.D. Green. I've been a face on the radio in Vermont for well over 20 years. And although I've loved my career in radio, I had a vision about bringing my connection to the community to a different platform, to social media, where I could create a blueprint of a podcast that's something constantly evolving, knowing that there's always room for new experiences and learning, discovery, exploration, new questions to ask, and answers to be sought after. A program without limitations, but still with intention to tell a more in-depth story behind what makes us tick, what inspires us, what makes us realize that the what and when is only secondary to the how. And it's the how and the why that I want to uncover. It's my hope with this podcast that I can inspire, inform, that we can learn together and tell the bigger stories behind our lives. That's our story. My real story off the air. I'll try to push the boundaries, arouse your curiosity, and ask the questions you want answers to. Maybe questions no one's asked. The good and the not so good. What's going on in Vermont as well as across our great country. Things you'll agree with, things you might not. It's my hope to laugh with you, cry with you, entertain and enlighten you, but mostly learn with you. Please make sure to support your local public access TV station, subscribe to my YouTube podcast, Aired Out, engage by sharing your comments, and invite your friends to be part of it too. Thanks for tuning in. This is Aired Out. Welcome to Aired Out. My name is J.D. Green. Thank you so much for tuning in, for subscribing, and for being part of the podcast. Make sure to like what you see and comment, and most importantly, share. We appreciate your comments. Our sponsors, CBDcrave.com, the quality you deserve, top brands delivered right to your door. Peak Entertainment, serving Vermont and New Hampshire. Fontaine Forestry and Millworks, just below Bragg Farm on Route 14. And, of course, CVTV, Public Access Television, Channel 192 and 194. Thank you, Tony Campos. Good man. We have a very good friend of mine in the studio today. I just cannot wait to chat with this guy for the next hour. Every single time I see him, there is never a loss for words. We always have so much to talk about. The logger, also known as Rusty DeWees. Or should I say Rusty DeWees, also known as the logger?
That's technically how that saying goes, but
should we redo it?
No. No. Go head this right down the road.
I'm so happy that you're here. You brought your guitar. You can do some picking?
Yeah, you asked me to bring it, and I don't know what you're going to ask me to do, but certainly we'll pick. And good job getting this thing together. You want to hit?
Oh yeah.
Good job getting this thing together.
Well, first off, let's.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. First off, let's get Rusty right down to the skinny. You just finished a huge tour that technically is not over. You got another night.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day. It's February. The R is right after the B.
Well, it's like library.
Yeah. February 2nd, Fuller Hall.
Yeah.
Catamount Arts is putting on myself and Patrick Ross. That's I guess get on catamountarts.org or com or something.
Yeah.
Or go to Fuller Hall, February 2nd. That's a 7 o'clock show. So the last show of a tour with Patrick and I, and comedy and music.
How many nights was the tour?
It was 14 already, so this will be the 15th. We did places in New Hampshire, in Vermont, and it had a lot of people come out, and I thank all the people who did, and I thank the people who didn't because they can come out to the next one.
Pulled Mom out of the nursing home for the one in Stowe, which was just fantastic.
Yeah, she was sitting right there about the second and third row and just laughing.
Loved it.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it.
Thanks.
So when you have the last show that you did was, I believe, New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So look at this jump that we've got now. Do you forget your material? Do you lose your edge? Are you practicing every day?
Couple of questions into do you forget your material? No, but you need to brush up on it. And that's what this week prior to that show is going to be, brushing up on that. I let it go completely after you get done a run of new material. This is new material. The way I do it is I get done a run of new material, then I let it go completely. And then when you get back to it a couple weeks later, it's still there, but it has kind of a patina on it. It's a weird thing. It's always that way. So, though I'll have to fight for a few words as I rehearse on it in the car the next 3-4 days at my house, I'll have to fight for a couple words. It comes out even better.
Wow.
And it grows a little bit in the tank, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really.
There are so many questions I have for you, Russ. The first and foremost question, and this is a serious one, where I'm going to lead off with, who is playing in the Super Bowl?
I do know the one team. That's the Patriots.
Hey, look at that.
I don't follow.
Look at that.
I'll tell you what the Super Bowl means to me. It means going over to my friends. There's about 3 couples there. They got a couple. And then 4, 5, 6 years, they've been going to different houses. And this one guy, Peter Jones, it's his house this time. And we went over there last weekend for a warm-up in case them Patriots lost.
Yeah.
And the food is good. So the food is nice. And it's not that baloney of them goddamn hors d'oeuvres, which I go, hors d'oeuvres. If you have me to your house, don't have hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah.
The wife and you are going to cook up good food for me, lasagna, turkey, mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Then when I get there and you're handing me little goddamn mushrooms and stupid, ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
So then you sit down at the table. I eat the crap out of the lasagna and the turkey and mashed potatoes. Everybody else sitting around. Oh, I'm so full. Hors d'oeuvres are ridiculous, and they ought to put a stop to them. I'm even serious. So they have good food there, and it's nice to get around, but I don't care about football.
Does it matter?
I don't know who the other team is.
Yeah, the Rams.
Okay. What town are they from?
Are you going to be upset on Monday if the Patriots lose the Super Bowl?
No, but I do. My sister's a Patriots fan. I do find Tom Brady and that whole crew. I can't help but admire them, and I do study up on a little bit when I hear things about Tom Brady. He's interested in this book from Juan Miguel Ruiz. It's called The Four Agreements.
Okay.
Hopefully I can get them. Never make assumptions. Always do your best. Be impeccable with your word. And don't ever worry about what other people think of you. He and his wife are big readers of that book. He reads it before every season. So I grabbed it, and it's a very good book. And he's a phenomenal guy. I like also, he's the first person that says, hey, 41 is young.
Yeah.
You're going to be 51 thinking, boy, 41 was young. So mind and body, he's an interesting guy just in the fact because of his longevity. So I don't poo-poo him. But for, the bunch of these guys running around for 4 seconds, falling down 3 times in a row, and then they got to go over and sit on a big freaking church pew and take oxygen. And then when they win, they jump up and down like pansies. And then when they retire, these big, strong fellas, and they shoot up testosterone and everything. And we admire them, and we sit and we watch around them, and we get like gladiators, and then they retire. I gotta miss the guys. It's a scam, the whole thing. You want to really know how I feel? Go ahead.
Do you know what Super Bowl number this is, Russ?
Well, it's number.
It's in the 50s.
2?
No, 53.
All right.
And the Rams are from Los Angeles.
They are.
And do you know where the game's going to be played?
I always thought that it was the LA Rams, but from back when I was a boy, I used to see the football game.
Yeah.
But now I didn't know that maybe they switched around. So what was the last
one? Do you know where the game's going to be played? The Super Bowl.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I didn't know that, but I'll be sitting right up in Hyde Park, Centerville Road, eating good food with my friends, not drinking.
Now, did you get all worked up during the championship game by all the bad calls? Did that get you ticked off?
No. And here's my thought about bad calls. And I said it right at the day when we were watching as a warm. See, the guy said, Pete Jones said, if the Patriots don't win, so we'll see this game too. And try. He has him and Denise, they have a new downstairs, beautifully done. So we want to try it out. Oh, bad calls. And here's the thing, my friends, and then everybody, and I say, you got to know that there are going to be bad calls. Now, If you like that team that got the bad call against them, you're mad. But you ain't mad when you're on the team that gets the bad call for you. You got to be even. Now, they've softened up the football game with the pass interferences and everything to make it so you can score higher, so
Sure.
us Americans will watch it more because we don't want to sit and concentrate and watch a 1-0 soccer game. But the bad calls don't upset me because this is the way I think in my life. If I need to worry about something that has been called against me, that's going to affect the outcome of what my intention was, then I'm weak. You should be so far ahead of a team that a bad call, which is going to happen, shouldn't affect you. That's why. Don't make assumptions. Don't worry about other people think of you. It's kind of like the fifth agreement. Don't worry about bad calls.
Have you ever felt, Russ, like you got a bad deal, that you were treated unfairly?
If I did, I can't remember it. I think in my younger years I might have thought that, but I've washed that stuff out of my life. You can't treat me unfairly. I don't know how you could. You can't offend me. If you treat me a certain way, that's the way you've decided to treat me. It's not unfair because you're the one who's in charge of that. And I'm in charge of feeling how you've treated me. So, I mean, try to think of a way that you could treat me that would be unfair, and I'll tell you.
What are you more of, Russ? A producer, an actor, or a writer?
Well, the acting that I've been doing for 22 years, is my own material. So the performing go together. I'm performing what I've written. So those are equal. In that answer, producer, no, because then I go and produce myself. So I think it's a that pie is shared in 3 sections. Yeah.
Huh.
Do you mean what I like more or what I'm actually doing?
What you do more of?
I think it's the even. Although, okay, I see what you're saying. It's even. However, you're on stage presenting.
Sure.
Much less time than what I'm spending producing. So if there's an answer, if you want to really put it numerically, for statistics wise.
Do you ever say, "Gosh, you've always got to be cognizant of your brand," and maybe you get a little nervous about maybe offending someone with your material?
Well, that's a great question. When I first started, people weren't aware of what I was trying to do, and more people got upset, and they would say, "You said this, and it offends me." Now, when I first started, I would take that, again, earlier in my life, I'd be, "Oh my God, they didn't get what I was trying to say." So then I might write them back, not mad at them.
Yeah.
Say, "Oh, you didn't understand. I mean, this is how I said it." And they usually would come back and say, "Oh, well, I just wish you the best in your show. You're talented, but I didn't like that remark." But now I don't ever do that. In fact, that doesn't happen as much anymore because people now are aware of what they're going to get when they go to see my show.
Yeah.
First of all, I teach a comedy class. I taught it today at People's Academy. I tell the students, when you're writing comedy, you can write anything you want. But I would suggest you don't ever write anything in that you think will hurt someone. You should never intend to hurt someone. That's my rule. But now if someone says, "Hey, you said that thing, and I didn't like that," what I'll say is, "Oh, my intention wasn't that you wouldn't like it." But I have no right or no way to tell you what upset you. So it would be crazy for you to go, "Hey, I didn't like that joke about old-time Vermonters not having good diction. I didn't like that because my father's an old-time Vermonter." I'm going to say, "Well, I appreciate you coming to the show, and I would hope your father would come to it. And my intention wasn't to cause any harm, but that's how you felt."
Yeah.
So how narcissistic would it be of me to be upset by that?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm upset because I know that you're feeling wrong. I love that.
I bump into so many people that ask me about you and what's he really like? What's he really like? Tell everybody. Tell our YouTubers what you're really like. I want to go back to, early days. You grew up in Stowe.
Yeah.
And and my gosh, I mean, you were a bus driver in Stowe, but
School bus.
a school bus driver, and you were a truck driver for Dale Percy, right?
Yeah, that's all I ever wanted to do. My father was a Greyhound bus driver.
That's right.
And I wanted to be a Greyhound bus driver. He had to be 27 years old to be one of those. So when I got out of school, I just took to driving school buses and dump trucks to get background. So yeah, my parents took me and my sister out of Philadelphia, which is a great place, when I was 7. So I've been in Stowe and Elmore for 51 years. 51 years.
And then you did a little bit of concrete lifting.
A lot of concrete. I was driving the trucks, and then I was out of high school for 4 years in Champlain College. They had sports then. This is 81. Bob Tipson was the basketball coach, and Bobby Roberts, a Stowe guy, a great guy.
Yeah.
He told Tipson, you should see this guy play town team basketball, because I matured from high school. And they offered me to go to college, and I said, yeah, I'd like to go. Thank you very much for the offer. And I thought, driving around the summer before my college, I'd be better served doing concrete work, hard, physical work to build up strength, instead of sitting in a dump truck. So I asked Chip, I said, Chip, I'm going to retire here, and I'd like to work for Dave Walker. And they took me on for concrete. So I did about 5-6 years of that. And it did work to get me rugged.
Now, were you actually, this is one of the common questions that I get, is Rusty an actual logger, or was he a logger?
Yeah, when I was out of, when was that? I can't even remember. Oh, after college, I was still in Burlington working before I moved to New York. I forget when, but it doesn't matter when. I can't put it together when. But Mark Mayette, a good friend of mine from Morrisville, great guy, and I worked landscaping when I was in New York City. I would come home in the summers and do summer stock, work for Chip Allaire, and Mark and I were a crew. So then he did some of his own logging in the winter. So I logged for 2 winters up North Wolcott. He was cutting. So yes, I have logged. I really have logged. And but I'd never had to rely on that for my living. And you wouldn't want to hire me to run your logging crew. You could hire me to run the skidder and stuff. I know how to do that stuff. And I do it around my property with a 42 horse John Deere and a winch. So I mean, I know my way a little bit around the chains and the winch and the saw, but I'm not a logging dandy.
Tough work?
Well, logging is tough. They used to say logging was the most dangerous job in the world. But I go to the logging events with where they're selling the equipment and everything, and I've heard from those guys that now in the big, logging places, that the guy, it's not the most dangerous in the world anymore, because most of the guys are sitting in the thing, go zing, zip, zip, zip. And most of the injuries that they get now, these guys, are when they're walking down out of that big piece of equipment. They get down on the ground. They've been sitting up there 7 hours, They trip and fall. They break their ankle or their arm. Sometimes in the big logging places, they don't even have a saw,
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. But around here, no. And people think it's the chainsaw. Well, you're working with a chainsaw. You're darn right. I mean, whenever I work with a chainsaw, I have a couple of rules that make me safe. But it's everything else. It's walking in the woods through the snow, and you hit over a stump, and you fall and hit your head. I mean, it's the Widowmakers. It's everything. Yeah. Chains. Take your fingers. Yeah.
I remember you were telling me a long time ago that the toughest part about being a logger is after that lunch break, getting back out into the woods.
Well, when it's really cold, you get there in the morning and you get out there and you get to working, and then you take that lunch break at
you stiffen
at noon.
up.
What? No, because you're young, No, you warmed up. Now, after you've eaten, relaxed, food in your belly, you're in a truck. It's 87 degrees in that truck. And then you get out and it's still 20 below. That's a little tasty when you get used to that,
Jay Craven, David Budville. Which one should we begin?
Budville. Begin with Budville, because that's who I started with.
Let's go.
Yeah. David Budville is a poet who lived in Wolcott, and he wrote a play called Judavine, and Vermont Repertory Theater was a group that I worked with in Burlington after college, and I was pumping gas, and Robert R. Ringer was the director there, and he was one of my greatest mentors of my life. And I went from doing fun musicals in my high school years to doing serious plays with Bob Ringer, Chekhov, Sam Shepard, and those things.
Sure.
And he said, Russ, we're going to do a play of a Vermont poet named David Budbill. It's called Judavine, and you would be great in it. I was just about to start with UPS. And I said, yeah, okay. So I did the play instead of UPS. That's a whole other story. The UPS thing is a great story, but I think. And I did Judavine. In Judavine, I played a character called Antoine Lamotte, and his real name was Armand Gelineau, and he was from Hardwick, and he died last year, and I spoke at his funeral. Spoke at David Budbill's funeral. I spoke at Robert R. Ringer's funeral, and I was blessed to and honored to be asked. Armand Gelineau had a Christmas tree farm, and when David moved up here with his wife Lois, as a young poet, he worked for Armand Gelineau, and a big part was Antoine in the part. And I played in a play, and I played 3 parts: Conrad, Raymond, and Antoine. And the play really stuck, and when it hit, we played it out in Burlington, and then we toured it throughout Vermont for 3 or 4 times. But it really stuck. Back then, 1986, if something had a lot of energy and a lot of goodness to it, it made waves, and it stuck. Now there's so many things going on in arts and entertainment that you're up, boom, then you're out. So that Judavine was a big hit in Burlington, and all the papers covered it, and people came to see it. And I got fairly well known in that. But David Budbill became a really close friend of mine. The point is, he passed away a year and a half ago. The point is, that character playing in that play was the birth of the lager, because I understood people came to see the type of words David Budbill wrote, which were what I thought of as real words, some cussing in there, and comedy. So I did not set out to write Judavine Light. I didn't set out to write anything. The lager stories just came out of my head. They came out of my head because I said, David Budbill is just some guy that writes words down. And in high school, I was not the student that learned well in high school. I always thought reading was tricky. And these people that wrote things, men and women, were tricky, and they knew something that I didn't. So David Budbill and Robert Ringer taught me that, no, you just write stuff down that you think.
And I think writing stuff down that you think is basically the inception of Scrollins, the first of your 2 books. And you say in your book, listen, if you're all about punctuation and proper grammar and sentence structure, don't read this book.
Right. And there is Scrollins. Abubakar, welcome. All right there. And you're a writer too. So yeah. So when I wrote, a guy had written the lager, and the lager went well. And I got a call from a publisher over in New York who had 4, 5, 6 papers, small papers over there. And he said, "You want to write a column?" And I said, "I don't know how to write." He said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "I don't know adjectives or verbs." And he says, "Well, no, all you have to do is write down those stories that you say on stage, and when you call into the radio station." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." So I asked one friend of mine, Pete Hart, and he said, "Yeah, you sure?" Literally, I was like, I don't know how to write. At that time, I'm like 34 years old. He said, "You're being offered, first of all, money, and an opportunity that some people, aspiring writers, would be chomping at the bit to get." So I thought, yeah, and I called him back and I said, John Giroux. I said, "I'll do it. Yeah, thank you, but a couple of things." He said, "What?" I said, "I can be as many words as I want it to be.
Sure.
Not 17,000. It can be about anything." Mm-hmm. So in other words, I'm not going to write a comedy column. I'm not going to write, and no one edits it. And he said, "Yeah." Wow. And why is because I write the way I think, the way I talk, and I just think it's a lie to the people, to folks, if I'm gonna they're gonna have a editor at their print publication who's going to take my stuff and make it right. Then they're not reading me. Then get my name off it.
Yeah,
that's not what I wrote. So they literally didn't edit it, and I appreciate it. And it became these 2 books. And then I thought, if people like these, I could put these together in a collection. Yeah. And I would not have collected them unless people started coming up with me on the street and say, "Hey, I like them the stories you're writing."
Now, this is Scrollins 2. This is your second book. By the way, you misspelled 2. It's supposed to be TWO.
Mom named that. I
Come
was trying to think of a name.
Are you kidding me?
And she's like, what about Scrollins too? T-O-O. Yeah, well, she was a
That's
writer.
brilliant.
When she was young, she wanted to be, but she was in the paper business, but didn't end up being a writer. But anyway, yeah.
Well,
it was nice.
Do you think there will be a Scrollins 3 or another book?
Thinking about another book, and I think it would be autobiography / thoughts, like your first couple questions here, if people back up and hear those thoughts about, autobiography. I've been in Hollywood. I've been in college basketball. I worked for UPS. I logged. I did some things. So thoughts about life and just a story about what I think are things that people might be interested in. Not sure it'll happen because I think I need 4 years to put that together. To me, a book is a lot of time and work.
Sure. Any regrets in your life?
No, I mean, if there are, there are things that I would have to sit down and write an autobiography and go through. No, I don't think there's a bone in my body that ever even thinks of a regret. I think my parents were non-regretful people. No, I don't think I treated anybody, so far. I don't think.
Wow.
I mean, what's a regret? I mean, really, what would be a regret? Oh, I should have taken that job instead.
That's exactly what I'm.
No. Again, I think these things if I had them even, it's going to take time and energy from positivity. And again, I think it's a bit high thinking it would be a high thinking of myself to second, so question what I did. I should have married that girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What do you mean? How do you know you should have married that girl? You don't know how it would have come out. You're that goddamn smart that you can have a regret. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast.
Well, and I think that's so interesting to hear that. That really is. Yeah. So no material ever on stage that you regret saying?
No, but let me think. There's a joke. I can tell you stories about when I first started writing stuff, and I was driving down the road and things were going good. I wrote a story about a guy in a joke that deals with someone in a wheelchair. It was funny, but I said to myself, and I knew it was. I said to myself, but this is a guy talks about wheelchair people. It's about the wheelchair sign. There should be no need for those because if you're in a wheelchair and you're playing anywhere near the road, you don't deserve a sign.
Okay.
So I said, well, I got to try it because this is funny and people pay me to laugh. I don't intend to hurt anybody who's in a wheelchair or hurt anybody who knows someone who's in a wheelchair. And in fact, I don't think my words in this joke says that people who are in a wheelchair are less than me. I think the words in this joke address people who are in a wheelchair the same as I would address you. Maybe I joke about, guys like you.
Yeah,
I
understand.
So you're supposed to treat everybody the same. So I let myself off the hook. If I can joke about, 58-year-old guys who pee a lot now.
Yeah, sure.
I can joke about some guy. But the joke isn't really about the people in the wheelchair. So I knew that you'll have to buy the video to see the joke. This third one, I think. It's the first one.
You knew you'd.
I don't know which one. Now, I know I'm going to do this joke. Now, so I tried it one night. Oh, it was funny. I was right. I tried it a lot of nights. It's wicked funny, and it's a part of a whole line of jokes. But I knew at some point somebody's going to be there in the house.
You're going to hit a nerve.
Who's going to be in a wheelchair.
Oh. Yeah.
Sooner or later, and where do the people in the wheelchair sit? Your mom.
Yeah, my mom.
They sit in front.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, got to try it. Now I'm going to know if anybody's offended. So I come up and I come to the part and I say, the lead into the joke is big triangular signs with a wheelchair in the middle of it, telling you there's someone who lives up ahead who's in a wheelchair. There should be no need for them. So I come up to that part, and when I'm doing that, I know that everybody in that theater, about 400 people, knows that there's a guy in the wheelchair right sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
So I want to release the tension.
Sure.
So I go, big yellow triangular sign to a wheelchair, and telling you there's someone who lives up ahead in a wheelchair. And I point to the guy. So I know he's here. You don't have to feel guilty for me. Enjoy the joke. I started into the joke, and there's 4 or 5 laughs within that one little joke. And the joke's only about 7 or probably 11 lines, and he laughed like a son of a gun.
Did he really?
Well, couldn't stop. So I said well, okay. Any fear that I would be offending people, I still may offend someone. It's not my intention. That would be the guilty thing, not my intention. So that guy got it. So that kind of gave me the green light more.
The start of the lager.
And again, it's not making fun of handicapped people.
Yes, of course.
But you can take it that way. You can sometimes, if you start a joke like that, people are in the audience. They are going to hear it. Yeah, the way they want to hear it, even though the words are different.
We're almost in the society that we live in, the culture that we fester in. It almost seems like we are often programmed to be offended. Well, some of us want to be offended. That's why look at all the stuff that's on the tube.
That's an interesting statement that you have, and I won't go out to disagree with it. You know what I mean? And you could go on with that. So I mean, I think humans, including myself, sometimes we like to put barriers in front of our up, so that if I have a barrier in front of if I have a tough day, JD, and I had a flat, and I was late, and the boss is mad at me, then at the end of the day, I can kind of sit back and think, yeah, I'm pretty good. I got by that. You know what I mean? That's so we create barriers. There's a million reasons why we create barriers. Very interesting human beings. Are.
Yeah. I want to go to the start of the lager. George Woodard played a role in that.
He did. I was in New York, driving back and forth from New York almost every weekend. And again, I'd been in Judavine. I'd done some plays. Then I was in New York working for about 5-6 years. Just working in New York before I even started doing the industry acting in New York. And I was just driving home back and forth by myself. It's about 5.5 hours fast, 6 hours if you stop a couple times. And these stories came out of me. The stories of the concrete work that I did to get bucked up for basketball. The stories of the dump truck. Stories of the logging. And I wrote 2 stories. Bing. It just came out of me. You know how that is. It just came out of me, and I put them down. And then George was doing his Groundhog Opry, and I said, "Hey, Georgie, good friend of mine, yeah, Russ." I said, "Could I do these? I got these stories, He said, "Yeah, do them." So it was at the Red School in Waterbury. Is that Thatcher Brook?
Thatcher Brook, yeah.
And it was full, and I was on the sideline. I was in the wings. And George, he likes to work at the spur of the moment. He likes to put things together just spur of the moment. He works off that energy, and I don't. I got it all planned out. So it's 2 different ways of working. But he's great. And he was just about. I was on next, and he looks at me, just about. He goes, "Hey, what do you want to be called? Big Red?" I said, "No, call me the Logger." But Chris, I did start a chainsaw. The part of my deal was the first thing when I walk out on stage is I start a chainsaw and I get it stuck. That, and with the way the stories are, so it was good from a branding point of view, and also that's kind of the character I was playing. Wow. So George, yeah, and then he let me be in a lot of his shows that whole run, and I got to know that people liked it, and I thought that people liked it. So then I just saw that, and people liked it. Well, you know what? I'm not just going to stop at George's Groundhog Opry. I'm going to produce myself. Yeah. And then I produced myself about 10, 12 shows. People liked it. And I said, I'm not stopping at 10 and 12 shows. I'm going to keep producing.
Wow. I've bumped into folks who have come up to me, and I always find this kind of humorous, that say to me, JD, the lager's not a Vermonter. You ought to remind him of that. How do you react to stuff like that? Where were you born?
Yeah. Well, I said earlier, I was born in Philadelphia. My parents brought my sister and I up here when I was 7. However, I had someone I was asking questions about. Early on, I would share stuff with about the show I was doing. And is a very well-known, smart man. And he said, don't ever tell anybody you're not from Vermont. The audience won't like that. I was driving home for that. This is when the lager was real hot. First year. I was driving home for that meeting, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to tell him in my show. I didn't know I was going to do a video at that point. It was videos back then.
Yeah.
In every show I do, I'm going to say that I'm not a real Vermonter. And why? Because I'm not going to. If something happens here, and this goes on, then I'm a liar.
Sure.
You know, and I didn't, and so I always would say at the end, I'm not a real Vermonter. I wasn't born in Vermont, but there's a poem that I like.
Yeah.
It speaks to me, and I would tell this Vrest Orton. He's the grandfather of the Vermont country store people. He was a friend of Robert Frost of Vrest Orton. But anyway, I do this poem. So I never said I was from Vermont. And I could care less if anybody is offended that I'm not. It's a show. Yes. I'm doing a show. But anyway, if anybody comes to you and says, you know what, Russ isn't a lager. I know they don't have any, they're not pissed or anything. But just go to him. He says that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, you ain't paying attention.
Just
you don't pay attention.
Does a Vermonter have to be born in Vermont?
Again, we're living in a world now where the definitions of things get more and more gray, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad. So here's the thing: if you're a 7th generation Vermonter, what about the 8th generation?
Yeah,
were they from England? Where'd they come from? So you're gonna say, I mean, how silly? That's fine. Yeah. It's not silly. It's what it is.
Sure.
If I have 4th generations, you only have 2. Somehow I think I'm more Vermontery.
Yeah.
That's not to say that Bernie Sanders. He's lived up here for a lot of years. He came out of where is he? Brooklyn probably. And is he less of a guy that he's not a Vermonter? I'm not a political guy, so he's just an easy one to say. So yeah, I mean, I would never say I'm from Vermont. I was born in Philadelphia, man.
Can you give us a little bit of the lager and maybe your bit about the Vermont accent?
Vermont accent. If you go to a outdoor barbecue in the summer, you're going to go back on the lawn there, and you're going to see in Franklin or Washington counties, you're going to see a lot of firemen, and a lot of firemen there, and they're all back there and they're drinking. Of course, it's 12 o'clock. Of course, firemen, and I take my hat off to the men and women who do the services, the firemen and ladies, and all those people, because they got more guts than I ever had, and they're going to save us someday. But they're back there, and it's about noon. I go back, and they're holding a beer, like that, and they do it like you see the wrist ain't here, it's here because it's closer to the mouth, and they rest their elbow on the hip because, if you're going to be drinking all day, you got to rest it. And if you say to them, hey, look at that guy, they all got brand new pickup trucks. I say, look at that guy, he's got a brand new nice pickup truck. That reminds go, yeah, he's from Snowblands. It ain't St. Albans. He's from Snowblands. That's my brother. He doesn't go, that's his brother-in-law. He says it because a lot of them guys they all consider themselves brother-in-laws because it's a fraternity, sorority, the firemen. So he goes, oh yeah, he's from Snowblands. He just bought that truck. He's gonna plow with it this winter. I'm gonna work for him. That's my brother-in-law. That's the way they say it, brother-in-law. Anyway, so we have fun, and that's a new bit, and it goes on and on.
I want to ask you to pick up your guitar and give us some picking, but okay. on your way over to get the guitar, okay. I'll ask you. I
have to push back.
No, that's fine. Yeah. Right there. I want to ask you. How. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was how Stowe has changed over the years since you were a little tyke running around, and there's a young crowd in Stowe.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Has Stowe changed for the better? I mean, it's always been a touristy area, and I think most of us know that. But do you like the Stowe today versus yesterday?
Good question. I mean, yes, obviously it's changed, and we could go through what the changes are, but I do like it. I think people in Stowe, and not just Stowe. I mean, Waterbury.
Sure. Look at Waterbury.
They've done a good job to keep. Yeah, bottom line, I like it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are doing, they just create a lot of jobs, blah, 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 same old stuff. Yeah. But I think that if you want the old Vermont, again, you got to get what you got to get. You can't rely on other people to make life how you want it. So if you want the old Vermont, move to Ferdinand.
Where?
Ferdinand. Ferdinand's a town in Vermont, up Norton, Ferdinand. It still exists up there. If you want, the people to be in town to see some, diversity, and you want to get a, job being a chef or a waitress or landscaping business where you can make probably $500,000, $600,000-700,000 a year if you got half a brain, a little bit of ambition. Live in Waterbury or Stowe around there. The bottom line, when my friends are talking about that, some naysay, that big ski resort up in Vermont, Spruce Peak. I saw they were starting to build that. I said, boy, I'm going to get some work up there, and I hustled my ass up there. And I stuck my nose up not up, but into faces, and I'm working there, and I like it. I go up there. Listen, this Stowe Spruce Peak big resort hotel up there saves me a lot of money on vacation.
Do you think
take the girl up there and sit around there for one night, and you think you're in goddamn Switzerland?
If this is true, do you think it's hurt some of the local moms and pops up and down 108?
If it has, it's the moms and pops' fault. If you see the big goddamn store coming in up the road, you got to figure out goddamn how to get your piece of it. Figure it out. Don't cry or move to Ferdinand. I'm just saying, if you were born, this is the bottom line. I said, if you're born and you're born, are you going to say, I'm going to live to be 95 and it'll be the same as it is now when I'm 95? Sure. You know what I mean? Has it hurt some of the mom and pop shops? I don't know the answer to that. But I know that it's helped some of them. You want me to play one?
I want you to play
Well, this is a brand new song, and I've never played it, so bear with me. Honest to God, bear with me, because I might not know the words.
Well, you're self-taught on the guitar.
Well, no, I took some lessons from Paul Asbell and Peter Wilde. You see friends. I actually took some lessons. I picked it up when my dad went into the nursing home, which you know something about personally. He was 92, I was 42, so I'm 58. I've been playing a while, but I'm not one of these guys that's been playing since I was 8. I don't have 50 years into it. I get about 15. My dad, when I was racing at Thunder Road, my dad was in his 80s and great. He was still healthy, and I'd back up my truck with the trailer on it, with the stock car on the trailer, into Mom and Dad's property before I'd go out racing on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Just show them the car.
Yeah. They
did go a couple times and see me race, and because he liked that. And my dad he was born in 1911. He just had a lot of, I think, a lot of great things to say and common sense. And my mom, too. My buddies liked what my dad had to say. So anyway, I'd be walking away from his front door, and he'd stand at the front door, and now I'm going to get in the truck and go off and race. And I'd be just about opening up the door of my truck, and he'd go, "Hey, Ross!" I said, "What?" He said, "Stick close to the fence. It's the fastest way around." So I always thought, well, it's not necessarily always up at the Thunder Road, because but the idea is stick close to the fence. It's the fastest way around. I've thought about that for years. And what he was saying, it's take it easy. Just do the simple thing. It's the fastest way around. Stick close to the fence. So I wrote this song, and it's metaphorically maybe has some sense. And again, bear with me. You said stick close to the fence, Ross, it's the fastest way around. Don't run so fast that your back end starts to slide. If you let up on the gas, you're gonna beat him to the line. I wager dang near every time. Stick close to the fence, it's the fastest way around. 1 + 2 is 3, + 4 is 7. Add 5 is 12, 9 is 21, yeah. My teacher always said if I could add in my head, I wouldn't ever have to worry if my battery goes dead. Stick close to the fence, Russ, it's the fastest way around. Stick close to the fence, Russ, it's the fastest way around. Don't run so hard that your back end starts to slide. If you let up on the gas, you're gonna beat him to the line. I wager dang near every time. Stick close to the fence, it's the fastest way around. My dad always told me, Russ, money is the easiest thing to get. All you got to do is work. You'll have plenty. Hey, look, Russ, across the street. That fellow over there, he'll pay you to mow his lawn because he don't want to muss his hair. Stick close to the fence. It's the fastest way around. And we'll end it with the chorus. I stick close to the fence, Russ. It's the fastest way around. Don't run so hard that your back end starts to slide. If you let up on the gas, you're going to beat them to the line. I wager dang near every time. Stick close to the fence. It's the fastest way around. Uh-huh. So that'll be with harmonies, with Patrick maybe on the fiddle and everything.
Wow.
There is one more verse that I haven't fully memorized, but it's be simple in life. Don't run so fast that your back end starts to slide. Don't take on too much. Teacher always said, if I could add in my head, I won't have to worry if my battery goes dead. You know what I mean? Simple things, and I like it that Dad's in there. You know, that guy will pay you to mow his lawn because he don't want to muss his hair. The new Stowe.
Yeah.
So that's a way of looking at the new Stowe. See those fancy guys?
Wow.
They'll pay you to mow. So anyway, I'm liking the song. This is literally wrote it about a week ago, and I'm working on the third verse. And it's the first time I played it right on your show, man.
Wow. So you.
Did it make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's the website to get on to learn more about you and of course, get some of your goodies that
I got two, and one's thelogger.com, and there's a logger hat. One's thelogger.com, and you can buy the merch off that one. Then there's one's rustydewees.com, and that's more of the people that want to hire me to write for their company or do marketing for their company or voice for their company, and it shows speeches and things. RustyDeWees.com, made by Peter Wilder. But before we get to the end, I got these here. Oh. It's for the family. Oh. One for each of you. One for each of you.
Oh, for Lily and
Come
Charlotte.
Now.
Oh my God.
You can eat yours now. Go right ahead.
Thank you, buddy.
Do you like the chorus?
I love that.
To the fence around. That's it'll grow from there. I'm not sure.
Now, you're a guitarist, but you're also a drummer.
Well, drummer was the first thing in school, and I can drum, and I can read the music and everything. So I had a lot of fun drumming and around Barrie, which is where we are at the Country Cousins right up the road. When I was 15, playing in the nightclubs, playing in the bars when we were young. When people did that, when you had those bars more. Now it's coming around again now with all this fancy beer and the Alchemist and all those places, and a lot of these bar owners are hiring bands to come in. But I had a lot of fun drumming.
And when you started drumming, you started out with something simple.
Oh yeah. Well, I did it on the show, with Don Como. Yeah. And he would play the fiddle on it, and then I would play little drums on the back of a chair. A chin chair. Yeah. Well, god darn it, if one night we was gonna do a show, me and Don, and I forgot my sticks. What the hell you gonna do? Stick close to the fence. It's the fastest way around. Make it simple. Got a couple hangers and triple paradiddles. Those are called paradiddles. Paradiddles. Anybody knows drumming out there? But anyway, so I did that in the back of it. It was back of a tin chair, and it really worked good with Don. Yeah. Did that for years, and I would play in my steel toe. Yeah. So it really make.
And you're still in touch with Don Como?
Oh God, yeah. Well, his Don and Peaches Como, their first child is my goddaughter Monica, and she now has 3 kids. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and they helped me.
Boy, the Comos, they're so talented, all of them. Oh my God. Yeah. It runs in the DNA. It's unbelievable. I have to tell you, man. Having you come on the air with me so many years on the radio, and you've hosted countless shows with me. I don't think we've ever covered the same thing twice. Maybe, yeah.
You're good. You're. I mean, what am I gonna say? That you're not good, but you are always did your work beforehand, and when you were on a radio station for years around this area, and to get up in the morning and this public service that you did for organizations and people around here, and you're well known, and that's why you have this podcast, and you're making this happen. Tony's great to deal with you, but the thing about you that is different than being on other radio stations is, I mean, I don't know why they kept you there, but you would turn the whole show into basically a 3-hour podcast. Before there were podcasts, you'd get so far behind. I mean, I know you would do the commercials, but you'd get far behind the music. Yeah. But you thought that there was value in connection over the air, before it was so-called hip. I mean, people have been interviewing people since Adam ate the apple, right? But so that was what's different. And, you know, other radio stations, the announcers are very fantastic and talented. The stations don't necessarily have that ability to let someone run. And even at the station you're at now, I know the guy that's running your particular station, Frankie, and he really loosens it up. So that's pretty nice. I mean, yeah.
It's
like you're doing like satellite radio on terrestrial radio. You know what I mean? So I don't know how you've kept your job.
When I first heard you talking about, and I know we only have a few minutes left, but this is so important, and we're going to be brief. We're going to clip it right along about William Doyle. I'm thinking Bill Doyle here in Vermont. Mm-hmm. No.
How much time do you have?
Yeah, well, no, we've got about 13 minutes, but I want to ask you about Jay Craven too, and some of the movies he's been in too. So, but this guy, William Doyle, not the Bill Doyle that we know here in Vermont. This guy was in New York City, ran an auction house, and really gave you a working foundation that was the sale that you caught all of your wind, really. Yeah. And I don't mean to speak for him, but I mean it seems like he gave you that beginning, that launch of something that you would be able to carry long after he's gone.
Yeah, I moved to New York City, got a job working at an auction house. I wanted to be an actor when I moved to New York City. That was the point. But when you have a goal, don't be so single-minded that you're going to let other opportunities pass by. So William J. Doyle owned an auction house, and he needed an assistant. Yeah. Brian Smith, I went to high school with up here, said, I can get you a job there. So I got the job. Bill Doyle's right-hand man, assistant, confidant, bodyguard. And Bill Doyle was 47 at the time, and I was 29, and he was married to Kathy, and they had 3 young daughters. And so for the next 6 years, I only did acting in the summer. I would come home in the summer because that business slows down in New York City. In the summer, that slows down. And I would come home in the summer, but I'd come back. And for the first 6 years, I worked for Bill Doyle. I went from pumping gas on the Shelburne Road in South Burlington to eating at 21 Club with Gloria Vanderbilt. I got my clothes at Barney's. I was kept. The only thing I paid for was my apartment. So the point is, yes, you put it well. I moved from New York, from Vermont, went down and landed a job that's pennies from heaven, lightning striking in a bottle, where I learned from this guy who was an unbelievable businessman and sat right next to him for 6 years, drove him. And it wasn't like the chauffeur driving. We'd go into estates and, get their goods, and then we'd come back to the auction house. And he learned Rustola. He was from Newton, Mass. Always make your callbacks. It's not yesterday, it's tomorrow. You know what I mean? So I was taking my master's to doctorate in New York City from Bill Doyle and getting paid really well to do it. So that was, again, I left comfort. I was 29. I wanted to be an actor. Well, I'm leaving. What does that mean? If people say, you were brave to do that. I wasn't brave. But I left everything that was comfort. What was comfort? My parents, my great friends, a couple gals, maybe, town team basketball. But no, this thing was passion that was driving in me to be an actor, or I was curious about how I could become a working actor. But in the meantime, I got hooked up with Bill Doyle. Now, go onto your computer things and go Doyle, New York, and it'll take you to Doyle Galleries. Bill died 6 years after I got there. Ooh, and then young. Kathy, his wife, took over, and that's when I kicked in with the acting. So I could talk to you about Bill Doyle, and we will sometime on your show. That's fascinating. You know that Antiques Road show? Yeah, you see Doyle Galleries is represented on there.
He taught you so much.
Oh, my God. About business.
Yeah.
Yeah, about business. About life, too. But, my parents, I had a lot of other mentors for that. But, yeah, it's just about business and about life. Yeah, Bill Doyle, and then he died.
Where the rivers flow north.
Yeah.
Jay Craven.
And his daughters are still, they're all doing well. I was at every one of their weddings and everything. So it wasn't just a driver relationship. It was Jay Craven.
Yeah.
Jay Craven, we were touring Judavine, and he was running Catamount Arts, who's producing the Lager and the Fiddler February 2nd. Mm. And we were doing Judavine. We went up to Catamount Arts. That's when he's 10 years older than me. I was probably 28. He was 38. He came up to me and said, hey, you're pretty good in this place. He says, I'm going to be doing movies someday, and I want you to be in them. I said, all right. And he was true to his word. So Where the Rivers Flow North was not his first picture. His first picture was High Water. It's a short. Anyway, now he has Rip Torn, who's a big-time actor, and all these people. And I got a part as the champ, and I was living in New York, and I hustled my butt up for a 1-minute audition.
Wow.
You know, I could feel that there was, back in those days, that independent movie thing was brand new, and he was doing it. A couple other people around here, too. So I was a young guy, so I hustled it. You said how much producing you do relative to how much entertaining. Back then, it was all getting the job. I recognized Jay Craven had some fire, and he's going to be doing movies. And he did, and I was in them, and I've been in 8 or 9 of it.
Yeah, what are some of the other? Black Dog.
Well, but those are just Jay. Jay is a stranger in the kingdom. Northern Borders, Where the Rivers Flow North, Disappearances. Disappearances. I work with Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
You know, Rip Torn became a friend of mine because I was a young guy in New York, and he had kids that were in New York doing underground theater, and so you know, you got Jay has been great. I mean, Black Dog is another movie that was with Patrick Swayze and Randy Travis and Meat Loaf, and I just was writing the lager then. It was in 1998. I was finishing it up in 1997 or six. And I talked to Meatloaf about how I should produce it. You know, and I was writing it on the set and producing one of the first loggers with the poster down there in Georgia. We shot it because you got to have a lot of time. And I remember Billy Bob Thornton saying that he wrote Sling Blade while he was on the set of a movie when he's sitting in a trailer. So I said, hell, I'll do the same thing. And I wrote the first logger. I wrote the second act of it down there. And Black Dog was great. You can go IMDb, International Movie Database, to see all the movies. Pieces of April with Katie Holmes. And a lot of movies, you know, from grad student films to, $75 million smash 'em up truck movies.
Yeah. We only have a few minutes left.
Worked with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah,
Radical
did you?
Jack.
What was that like?
Oh, geez, he was great. He was just learning how to act. So Miley was just a little kid. She was on it, but he was great. It was down in Rutland, and I learned something. I don't know. I think I just barely had started the lager then, maybe just barely. And I learned something. I didn't know I was learning it. We were shooting at night, 2 a.m. on the streets of Rutland. And there's Billy Ray, and he was great. We had a lot of fighting scenes, me and him. Rusty, boy, you're a good actor. I'll tell you what, boy, I'd like to be as good as you someday. And he's over there, and we're on break. We're doing a break. You know, they're setting up the camera, and there's a couple of ladies, middle-aged ladies over there gathered around Billy Ray in the corner. They heard Billy Ray was in town. This is like, "Ooh, don't break my heart," you know. So,
oh, yeah.
And I looked over there, and he's singing. They said, "Come on, sing it, Billy." No, they didn't have Southern accents. They had Rutland accents. "Come on, sing it, Billy." And he said, and he sang it. And he didn't just sing the chorus. He started at the beginning. You can tell my heart, baby, battin', bitten, boo-da-dow. And I sat there and I said, that son of a gun is on the corner in Rutland, Vermont, singing the whole Achy Breaky Heart song. If anything ever comes of this lager thing, anybody can come up to me in Cumberland Farms and ask me anything they want. I will stand there and talk to them till the cows come home. Wow. He understood that. I learned that from Billy Ray.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was great.
What's the most...
Law and Order, been on that a couple times. That's good.
Yeah, Law and Order, too. Yeah. What's the most challenging part of being the logger today?
Well, that's a pretty good question. I mean, being the logger, being in business as an entertainer, and the logger is what I do.
Yeah. You're 58.
Yeah. Right. Well, 20. So I've been doing it 22 years. I think it's the same as it is for any business, as you, as the Alchemist, as oh my God, the construction guys and girls around, is how fast things are moving now. Not so much fast, but different.
Sure.
So how do I fill up a theater with people when in the old days I would put posters around the towns and I would put an ad in the Times Argus. God bless Times Argus. But I think their circulation's down. Yeah. I know the free press is down. I used to spend $4,000 in the free press. I knew about everyone in Vermont was reading it.
Sure, it's different now.
My poster was the only one on the building.
Yeah.
Now there's 20 of them.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing for the audience, that they have diversity in what they want to see.
Yeah.
But that's a challenging thing to be able to figure out how much money can I spend, how many people am I going to get, because they have the option to stay home and look at their 100-inch TV screen
right.
and watch ping pong instead of seeing old Russ. And they've seen me 4 or 5 times anyway. So anyway, that's probably it. Keeping up.
Wow. Let's settle something before we close out today. This has been.
These are for you.
Thank you, buddy. I'll bring those home.
Yeah.
This has been a little bit of a debate that you and I have had together. Personally, between the two of us, is who is more of a darn tough fan. So I just want to know, what do you got on your foot right now?
Well, I'll tell you.
By the
way, where were you?
Well, you're going to show us.
What was your producer's name?
That's Abubakar.
Abubakar is wicked. Nice job, Abubakar.
We're not going too long, are we, buddy?
Abubakar, I think I'm going to win. I'll tell you why.
What?
I was going to say, JD, he didn't preset this. You didn't tell me. I am the bigger. Why? Mine go higher, man. They're higher. Plus, I'm good friends with Rick Cabot for 25 years. So
Rick's a hell of a guy.
Mark's great, yeah. But we started out together. I was driving back and forth to New York City. At the same time, Rick was driving back and forth to New York City, pumping socks when they didn't have Darn Tough yet.
Yeah.
It was just Cabot Hosiery. And then we would meet up here on the weekends at the Stowe gym.
Yeah.
And he was a drummer, and so Rick and I talked a lot. Yeah. But anyway, I got these beauties on, man.
Yeah, those are pretty nice. Those are the ski socks.
Them are for skiing.
Yeah, put that up there again so we can see.
I'll put it right on there. Darn Tough. Yeah, what a story. And it's great. I mean, they just got 42 brand new machines. When they hired a whole bunch of people, and up in Northfield, and all
they're crushing it right now.
They're crushing it, and so many Vermont companies are. And if you want to listen to the politicians, if you want to do that, you're probably going to hear maybe, I'm not calling them out, maybe more negative than positive. That's just the nature of selling stories and buying votes.
Of course.
Is that I want you to want me because I can make things better for you.
Sure.
Well, guess what? You got to make it better for yourself. None of them politicians are going to tell you that. I shouldn't say none of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are. The point is, there's a lot of great things. There are a lot of great things. Now the politicians, they're out there. They got to keep things even. Phil and all. They don't want to spend too much here and too much there. So they're doing real work. But sometimes, quite often, I don't even have a TV. I don't watch it. It's Hazarai. That's their Yiddish word for junk. It's a show. All that stuff. Same thing with the NFL.
Yeah.
But so I think Vermont's a great place, and there are thousands and thousands of darn toughs out there, young and old people. They say young people are leaving Vermont. They wanna. There's other things out there to see. Don't cry the blues. They'll be back, or they won't.
Yeah.
I don't want you to go out there and keep getting people pregnant.
Air It Out.
Just so there's more people to not leave.
Air It Out, the podcast brought to you by CBD Crave, the quality you deserve, top brands and CBD products. You do any of that?
Well, I took a massage here from this girl that massages me. She's my masseuse. She's great. And she said about 3, 4, 5 months ago, I got some CBD I'm going to rub you down with. I said, all right, now I'll be able to tell people if it works or not. And you know what? I had numb arm. I went in numb arm. And that's why I went and got the massage. And she rubbed me down. I went home after that massage, still had numb arm. So you can take that CBD and pound sand with it.
Peak Entertainment of Vermont, New Hampshire.
For some people.
Fontaine Forestry and Millworks of East Montpelier, and CVTV Public Access Television. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you share, you comment. We'll catch you next time. Rusty DeWees on Aired Out.